Okay, so in these problems, we're going to look at solving simple interest word problems. And so remember when solving word problems, these are some of the steps that you would need to go through. Now, these steps may be different than steps from another textbook, but the step number one is you want to identify the question. So read the problem one time and then note what you're asked to find. Step two, making any notes. Read until you can note something, an amount, a picture, anything. Continue reading and making notes until you have read the problem a second time. Step 3 is assign variables to whatever is you're being asked. Step 4 is to set up an equation. Step 5 is to solve the equation. And then step 6, which is not always the easy part, is to check the solutions. And basically, sometimes it just doesn't make sense. That's basically what you're gonna look for at times. All right, so let's get number one. So number one, you're told that you deposit $8,000 in an account that pays 2.8% simple interest, and then what will be the balance in 8 years. All right, so you read it that one time, right? And so you want to take a note of what is you're asked to find. So I'm asked to find the balance in 8 years, right? I'm asked to find the balance. So I'm going to write out I need to find the balance, or however whatever amounts in that account at the end of 8 years. Okay. Now, the other thing you got to note is that you are dealing with simple interest. And so remember the formula for simple interest is interest equals principal times rate times time. Principal times rate times time. So interest equals principal. Remember principal, Principal. So principal is whatever the amount you invested. The rate, R is the rate, R is the rate, and when we use the formula, always write it as a percentage. I'm sorry, as a decimal. So write as a decimal. And then T is the time. Okay, T is the time. And we need to put time in years. Okay, time should be in years. So this is in months, you convert it to years. Okay? All right, so we kind of talked about steps one and two at this point. So this is our discussion about steps one and two. Okay, so I know I'm going to have to use this formula. So interest equals principal times rate times time, right? So the $8,000 here, that represents the principal. That's how much I deposited. So that's at $8,000. So write equal 8,000, okay, times the rate. I'm given the rate. The rate's 2.8%, but remember you have to write as a decimal. So you got to remember how to convert a percent to a decimal. So to convert a percent to a decimal, you move the decimal point two places to the left. So this is 0.028. And the time, which is already in years, that's 8. And so that's going to be the interest. So when I multiply this out, use your calculator. So when I multiply this out, I'm going to get 8,000 times 0.028 times 8 equals 1,792. So the interest is $1,792. So at the end of 8 years, if I don't take anything out or put anything in, this is what I've earned. Okay, simple interest formula. But be careful, don't say that's the answer. You got to read. You got to make sure you answer the question. So you need to check your solutions. That's my solution, right? To what I have so far. Um, but you got to check the solution. And when I say solution, I mean the solution to what it is I need to find. So that's what I have so far. But you may say, well, that's the solution. No, it's not. That is just the interest. The question was, what's the balance? So the balance. Remember, this is the answer now. So the balance will equal the principal plus the interest. The balance is the principal plus the interest. This is your interest here. So the principal is $8,000, right? The interest is $1,792, and when I add that up, that's $9,792. So that is your answer. So be careful, because when you do that, those assignments in Newton Alta, sometimes they're asked just for the interest. Sometimes they'll ask for the amount that's in the account or the word balance. Okay. So be careful. All right, so that's number two. Let's look at that's number one. Let's look at number two. So number two, you're told that Scott gets a student loan to pay for tuition. After 4 years, Scott paid $1,250 in interest, and the interest rate was 2.5%. And then how much did Scott borrow? All right, so now the question is, you need to find how much he borrowed, which is the principal. So you need to find the principal, Principal. Okay, you want to find the principal. So we're going to use that formula because you are dealing with a simple interest. So so interest equals principal times rate times time. All right, and you're told the interest is $1,250, so that goes here. $1,250 equals the principal, which is what I'm trying to find, right? Times the rate, which is 2.5%. You got to rise a decimal, so that's 0.025, times the time, which is 4 years. Okay? All right, now be careful when using your calculator in this. Make sure you know how to use your calculator because you have two factors here. So what I would do is since it's easy to multiply this out using a calculator, so do this first. Do this multiplication first, this product first. So 0.025 times 4 equals zero point 0.1, 1/10, right? So this becomes $1,250 equals 0.1 p. That's the way I would do this. It makes things so much easier on you. Then divide both sides by 0.1. 0.1. The 0.1's divide out, and you get the principal, which is what you're trying to find. The principal, so 12,050. So 12,050 divided by I'm trying to get the glare out of the way, divided by zero point 0.1 equals $12,500. So that was the principal, $12,500. Okay, so that's how much you borrowed. So Scott borrowed $12,500. All right, now let me so to make sure you don't make a mistake, then this is the easiest way to do that. But here's what else you could have done. See the right now, see right here, I'm multiplying p by 0.25, right? Well, the opposite of multiplication is division. So what you could have also done was this. Watch. 12,050, 12,050 divided by this, because right now I'm multiplying, the opposite is to divide. So divide by 0.025, press equal. That's what you have so far. Now I'm going to divide that by 4, because now you're also multiplying by 4, right? The opposite of multiplying by 4 is to divide by 4. Divide by 4, press equal, and you get 12,500. Okay? All right. So that was number 2. So let's look at number 3. Number 3. Oh, and by the way, so always think about your step 6, checking the solution. So there are times in these kind of problems where students may end up with such a huge amount that this wouldn't even make any sense. So that's where this common sense department comes in. All right, this is what I have. Does that kind of make sense? Or if it's too small, like let's say you made an error here and you may have gotten, let's say, $4,000. Well, after 4 years at 2.5% for $4,000, that's your interest. That can't be correct. So always think about, is is what I have, does that make any sense to me? Okay. All right. Number 3. Okay, so let's look at number 3. So number 3 is this. You invest $10,000 into 2 accounts. See, right here, when we did numbers 1 and 2, we're only dealing with one account, right? One account. Now we're dealing with 2. So you invest $10,000 into 2 bank accounts. One account earns 14% and the other account earns 8%. And then how much did you invest in each account if after the first year the combined interest from those 2 accounts is $1,238? All right, now here's how you're going to deal with this since there's 2 accounts. Here's the best approach to take. You're gonna do it in such a way that you organize your information. You're still gonna use the fact that interest equals principal times rate times time. Still gonna use that fact. But I use a table this time because I'm dealing with two accounts. So here's what I would do. I would draw a table just like this, and I know that interest equals principal times rate times time, right? So interest equals principal times rate times time. I'm drawing this table because I have two bank accounts. So one is at 14%, so that's your rate. So make sure you put that in the right place. So two bank accounts, right? So you see what I have here? I'm drawing a table with two rows. So this is the account at 14%, and this is the account at 8%. All right. Now, let's put in as much information as possible from what we have. So I know my rate already, right? So my rate is 14%, 8%. So that 14% as a decimal, remember this is a decimal here, 0.14, two places to the left, move the decimal point two places to the left. 8% as a decimal is 0.08. So 0.14, 0.08. Now let's talk about the time. Well, the time, see it says first year, right? So your time is just 1. Time is just 1. So that's simple. All right, now let's talk about the principal. Now that's where you got to think about this. All right, listen carefully. You're investing $10,000 into two accounts. So whatever you put here and whatever you put here has to equal $10,000. Okay? You are not told how many you put here or how much you put here. But you do know that if you put $6,000 here, then how much must you put here? 4,000, because 6,000 plus 4,000 is 10,000. If you put 2,000 here, then how much must you put here? 8,000, right? Okay. But you don't know how much you put in there. So what we're going to do is this. We're going to say I'm going to let X equal the principal for that first investment. Okay? All right, now think about what I'm about to say. Listen carefully to this. Listen carefully. All right, think. If I have $10,000, all right, if I have $10,000 and I put in that first account, I put $6,000, then how much will I need to put in that second account? 4,000. And so the question is, how'd you get 4,000? Well, you said 10,000 minus 6,000, right? That's how you got this. All right, let's think about it again. So I have $10,000 in my first account. Let's say I put in $9,000. How much will I put into the second account? 9,000 plus 1,000 is 10,000. So how'd you get 10,000? Oh, that's 1,000, sorry. How to get 10,000? You said 10,000 minus 9,000. Okay? So then that goes back to what we're talking about. So if this is, look carefully, if this is X instead, then this is going to be what? 10,000 minus X. If this is X instead, then this is going to be 10,000 minus X. Okay? All right. So, hopefully you now know what's going to go here. So if this is X thousand dollars, I'm sorry, if this is X dollars, then this is going to be what? 10,000 minus X. All right. Now when you add them up, it kind of makes sense because what's X and a negative X? X and a negative X is 0, and you're left with what? 10,000. Okay. All right, so that's, now be careful, don't put X minus 10,000. It's 10,000 minus X. Remember, subtraction, the order in which you write things does matter. So it's 10,000 minus X. All right, and then now the interest, so remember, interest is principal times rate times time. Do y'all see that X times 0.14 times 1 is just 0.14X? And what's the interest at this account? Well, at this account, it's this times this times this, so that's 0.08. times 10,000 minus x. Make sure you put that in parentheses. And you may say, all right, fine and dandy. I fill in the table. Now what? Well, what do you remember? They tell you. They tell you that after the first year, the combined interest, remember combined interest, these two added together must equal what? 1,238. So the equation, you're going to say the interest at 14% plus the interest at 8% must equal total interest, right? Must equal total interest. So what's the interest at 14%? Well, that's this right here, 0.14x. 0.14x. Plus, what's the interest at 8%? Well, that's this right here, 0.08 times 10,000 minus x. Equal, what's the total interest? Well, that's this right here, 1,238. And so there's your equation. That's all you do. All right. Now, let's solve this linear equation. So we're going to distribute this 0.08 here. So you have 0.14x plus, now 10,000 times 0.08, so 10,000 times 0.08 equals 800. Plus, minus 0.08x equal 1,238. Combining like terms, 0.14x and a negative 0.08. Use your calculator if you have to. 0.14 minus 0.08 equals 0.06. So I get 0.06x plus 800 equals 1,238. Subtracting 800 from both sides, I get 0.06x equal, and then 1,238 minus 800 equal 438. To get x by itself, I'm going to divide both sides by 0.06. Reducing, I get 1 times x is x. I get x equal, use your calculator, 438. 438 divided by 0.06 equals 7,300. So x equals 7,300. All right, now we got to answer the question. So here's the question. Remember, how much did you invest? How much did you invest in each account? So how much is invested in each account? So that's your principal. Okay, so let's write it out. So the principal at 14% equals x, right? Well, what is x? X is 7,300. At 8% equals, at 8%, it is 10,000 minus x. So that's 10,000 minus 7,300, which equals, use your calculator if you have to, which equals, what's that, 2,700? And there's your answer. Now, always kind of for that step 6 where to kind of check your solution. Again, sometimes it's very difficult to do that. But what I would do is just kind of check to make sure that these two add up to be $10,000, because you could have made a mistake there. And even if you made a mistake here, this would still add up to 10,000, but it would be wrong. So it's difficult to check this in terms of what you have here. All right. In terms of reasonableness, does it make sense that this would be $7,300? If it's bigger than 10,000, bigger than 10,000, you know that cannot be right, correct? Because all you invested was 10,000, right? If that was, let's say, $400, that kind of be suspect because that wouldn't make any sense either as well. Okay, so it's sometimes difficult to do that step 6. All right, let's look at number 4. So number 4, you have two investments again. So we're going to use that same idea, that table. So Carlos invested a sum of money at 7%. He invested a second sum, which is 200 more than the first sum, at 8%. And the annual income from the two investments is $346. And then the question is, what amount was invested at each rate? All right. So it's the same question. The same question as number 3. How much did you invest in each account? Right. Except if you go back at number 3, you were told what your total principal was in those two accounts. You were told that your total investment was $10,000. Here you don't have that, do you? You don't have that. But you are still going to use the same idea. Okay? You're going to use that table. Organizing it in a table is very useful. All right, so let's do that. So we're going to draw a table, and we only have two investments, so I'm going to do 2 rows. So this is going to be the one at 7%, and let's do this one at 8%. We know that interest is going to equal the principal times the rate, right, times the time. Okay? Principal times the rate times the time. And we are dealing with simple interest. And it says the annual income, so annual means 1, so that's going to be our times. That's the easy part there. The rate's also easy in it. To fill this out, that's easy to do. So you're going to fill out as much of this as you can. You know the rate. But you got to write the rate, though, as 8 decimals. So 7% is 0.07. 8% is 0.08. Now let's talk about the principal. Now, this is what you're told. You're told Carlos invested a sum of money at 7%. You're not told how much, are you? So let's go ahead and let that be X. Just like we did this, didn't we? So we let that be X. Okay? But here's the difference between these two and these two. At that 8%, this is what you're told. He invested a second sum, which is $200 more than the first sum. Well, if my first sum is X, then how do you write 200 more than the first? So it'll be X plus what? 200. So there's your principal. So if this is $100, then this would be what? $300. 100 plus 200. That's what you're involving with. Okay? So $200. All right, and so now we're going to fill in the interest part. So interest, remember, is equal to the principal times rate times time. So that's 0.07x. And this is 0.08 times x plus 200. And you're told, remember the annual income from these two investments. So this plus this, so the interest at 7% plus the interest at 8% is going to equal the total interest, right? So the interest at 7% is 0.07x. The interest at 8% is 0.08 times x plus 200. And that's going to equal the total interest, which you're told is $346. And so now you have your equation, your linear equation, and you're going to solve. So distribute the 0.08. I have 0.07x plus 0.08 times x is 0.08x plus 0.08 times 200. Use your calculator. So 200 times 0.08, I get 16 equal 346. Combine like terms, 0.07 plus 0.08 right here will give us 0.15x plus 16 equals 346. Subtract 16 from both sides, I get 0.15x equals, and then 346 minus 16 is, what's that, 330? 330? Then divide both sides by 0.15 to get x by itself. I get x to be, and then use your calculator, 330. So let's see, 330 divided by 0.15 equals 2,220. I'm sorry, 2,200. 2,200. All right, now make sure you don't stop there, and make sure you answer the question. So you want to know, what is the amount invested at each rate? Okay, so what's the amount invested at 7%? What's the amount invested at 8%? That's that principal. Okay, so So X, remember X is 2,200, so that's the amount invested at a 7%. So your answer, you're going to say the amount invested at 7% is $2,200. The amount invested at 8% is, now remember what that is, that's X plus 200, right? X plus 200, which equals 2,200 plus 200, which is $2,400. All right, and there's your answer. And in terms of step six, that's difficult to that's difficult here. But you could in terms of common sense kind of ask yourself something like, well, this amount here better be smaller than this amount by not much, right? 7%, 8% in terms of the uh, in terms of the interest. But that's about all you could do there in terms of checking. That's number four. All right, and finally number five. Number five. So let's do another one with the table. Okay, so let's get that one. So the sum of $4,000 is invested, part at 4% and the rest at 6%. The annual income from the 6% investment is $10 less than the annual income from the 4% investment. And so you're going to find the amount invested at each rate. All right, so we're going to use the table. I'm going to do those two rows just like we did before. And I know that we're going to say this is going to be the one at 4%, and this will be the one at 6%, right? And we know that interest equals principal times rate times time. All right. Okay. So this time you are told that your total amount invested is 4,000. All right. And so this part I can fill out easy because it says the annual income, so that's 1. The rate 4% says 0.04. Rate here 6% says 0.06. That's easy to fill out. Now let's talk about the principal. So together these two must set out to be 4,000. So that kind of goes back